Give me a second. All right, so I'm here with Joshua. It's Joshua, right? Not just Josh. Joshua.
Josh is
Josh.
cool.
Josh is cool. All right, so Josh Newman. Josh is out of Alabama, and I'll let him talk about more about where he's from and how we got there and all that kind of stuff. But Josh has been an REISift user for quite a few months now, and I'll let him cover more of that again. But man, I'm super excited to have you on, man. Like your story and everything has inspired me as like a founder of REISift and just me and my own business. We've actually JV'd on a deal that you bring to me that I still have right now that we're working on here in Northwest Florida. It's been awesome having you part of the community, and I'm really excited to have everyone else, not only in the community, but anybody who's in real estate in general, hear your story and just more about really like we were talking about before we started recording here, like the mindset behind it and what kept you going and just the kind of adversity you have since you kind of started in July. So got to mention who you are, where you're from, what got you into wholesaling, and a little bit of what you were doing beforehand.
All right. Well, appreciate the intro. I mean, I'll just get right into it here. I'm Josh Newman, obviously, but I remember last summer I learned what wholesaling was, and you were like one of the first dudes I ever saw on YouTube on Max Maxwell's podcast. So to be just sitting here right now, chatting it up with you, talking real estate, I mean, it doesn't get any better, man. This is awesome. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'm here in Birmingham, Alabama, and I got into wholesaling last summer, and I was working in trucking for about a year and a half or so before that.
Okay.
So almost all of 2018, I was on the road like half the time. I was at the road half the time, home half the time. And so going back before that, so my journey kind of has been, I owned a remodeling company for a long time. In 2016, basically I lost everything I had. My family, my friends, my business, my money. I went through bankruptcy, foreclosure, lawsuits.
Wow.
I lost everything, rock bottom. And that through 2016 and 2017. 2018, so that's when I got into trucking. Just hit the road, man. And it was pretty rough. I mean, I was just in dark days, and I just wanted to get away from things. And so yeah, but I ended up kind of losing that job at the end of 2018. I got into dispatching. I was dispatching trucking, and that kind of wasn't going as I had hoped it was going to go, where I was going to make enough money to live. So I really wasn't making enough money to live.
Right.
And it was about the turn of the summer, May, June. And I was just, I needed to find like something. So, I'm reading all kinds of mindset books and Think and Grow Rich. And, I'm looking into like, how can you make money? Because I was basically starting over from square one, and came across wholesaling. Somebody doing a webinar or something like that. Watched a webinar, and this was like right around my birthday, June 2nd, and that first night I was just like, well, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this, and found a local meetup here in Birmingham, went like the next night. And there was a wholesaler up there, a pretty good wholesaler here in the city, talking about breaking down deals, stuff that they'd done. And I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. So I just started doing what everybody does, man, watching YouTube. And first thing I found was Max Maxwell. and just started
Naturally.
watching through, everyone,
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, so that's when I came across you. I think you're what, number 2? You're the second.
No, I think I'm a bit further down. I know. I think
Yeah,
my podcast with him
you're
is,
pretty early though.
yeah, yeah. From the top down, when you started watching it, it was probably like right there, right after he interviewed me. So I
Yeah.
was probably the second one ready
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
So it was funny because I mean I was just trying to absorb as much information as I could. So like I went right away. Like one of the first things I did, like I just set up my business, set up my business name, just got a basic Facebook page and got a Carrot website, um, and just started learning how to try to pull a list. I didn't know anything about data, nothing about any of this stuff. Um, so started trying to pull a couple lists, and I was out driving for dollars. And
Okay. So
yeah,
let's pause there for a second and then step back a little bit. So just on recapping, you did remodeling, then you did trucking. There's some struggles in between there, and then you had, you're basically searching online to figure out how do I make money. Was it from home, or what made you search how to make money? Like,
well, see, like I've always had a dream of working in real estate, like, but I never really knew much of how to do it or how to go about it. And even when I was in remodeling, I was like, well, I mean, I could do flips or whatever, but I didn't really have the capital.
right.
You know,
So you were basically trying to maybe find something along the lines of what you already kind of maybe had a background in, or what you wanted to
mhm.
aspire to do, and then it kind of wholesaling. You've seen the no money down kind of mindset, you're like, oh, I can do that, no money down kind of stuff, and
Once I understood what the concept was, like I'd never heard of it. So like, okay, you're just flipping a contract. But like there's so many concepts about it that I mean, I already know how to do this. I already know how to talk with homeowners, know how to build rapport, I know how to sell. I know how to do these things that you need to do. Because basically when it comes down to it, you realize, well, this is really just a marketing business and then a sales business, to do wholesaling. You just have to be
yeah,
able, you can do marketing, you can do sales, you can do wholesaling.
100%. As long as you understand how to start generating leads, and you don't understand how to answer the phone, and at least stumble a bit first, and then from there learn,
Right.
you're totally fine. Awesome. So then when you first started, right away, you set up an LLC, you grabbed Carrot. At what point did you end up starting? Like, what was your very first marketing tactic? Was it, did you start using call rail and start hand dialing, or when did you hop on to like
The
call
first
tools?
the first thing I got was Mojo. I didn't
Okay.
really like that very much. I think probably everybody has the same story. You start with Mojo and don't like it. So I mean, my first, but actually even before that, because I didn't have very much money. So
Yeah.
I didn't have Deal Machine. So I did set up my Carrot site, just like it was $50. And I figure, well, it's going to take several months before it even like kind of takes hold. And
Yeah.
really, my main goal of that is just to have the credibility factor. If you call someone, they can actually just Google you, look you up, So that was
Yeah.
my thinking behind that. Um, so so I didn't have anything. So I was just going out and writing down properties and looking them up and calling them on my cell phone.
Yeah.
I just start calling homeowners. I mean, I remember the very first guy I called. I mean, he cussed me out, told me don't ever call him again.
Yeah.
Just got that right out of the way quick.
Okay. So, so you started dialing that. At what point did you feel as though you were like ready to then get like a dialer then and start marketing in that way?
Okay, so once after I saw you on Max Maxwell, so I started following you on YouTube, and then I saw REISift, that you were starting REISift. And like of all the people I saw on YouTube, first of all, there was just something about you particular, like I just felt like, okay, like a connection level.
Yeah.
And so I just found you on YouTube, started watching. And when I saw that, like the whole concept of the data side of it, like it just hit me like, this is the key to everything right here.
Right.
Like, if you do this right, everything else is easy. Like, this is the key. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I saw right away what you were doing and just believed in it and went in on it 100%. So that's what happened then. So I don't think I even pulled a list before that. I think I was just driving for dollars and calling the houses one at a time.
Okay.
I
So
know,
then,
yeah.
so then you ended up at what point after July, then about how long after that did you get REISift? I mean,
Yeah, it was probably about a month after I had, kind of
so like
learned what
August-ish
wholesale
time
was.
frame?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like August.
Probably
Okay.
July.
Probably
Yeah.
sometime in July. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
then, and
Next
up to
June,
that
I think
point,
it was.
you hadn't done a deal yet, correct?
So, so what happened was, the first deal story. So what happened was, like that first weekend, I learned what wholesaling was. I just set up my Carrot website and Facebook page and all that. Well, like 2 weeks later, I got an inbound call off of it. Like, it was crazy. And so I ended up, it was kind of outside of our market here in Talladega, if you know where that is. I ended up locking up the house, locking up the contract for 15K. Looked like it was going to be a slam dunk deal. I had a good buyer that was out there buying homes and came out there and looked at it. They liked the house, looked like it was done deal. Then they came back and said, we can't do it. The house is in a flood zone. So like that fell through.
Okay. I think I actually remember that. Yeah. You coming back, and then they're like, yep, sorry, flood zone. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that.
So what happened was, so I just started getting out there on Facebook, all that, just finding buyers, just trying to find buyers. I got all these potential buyers lined up, set a day, like, okay, everybody's gonna come out and do the walkthrough, all that. And I went out there and I sat all day in my car and not one person showed up.
Oh no.
I mean, I cried, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's
I
demoralizing. I mean,
cried all the way home.
you're
I
like,
mean, it was brutal because I need this.
yeah,
Like, um, I mean, Keith Everett up here in Huntsville, he said, some people want to win, but I need to win. I got so,
yeah,
and that's what it was like for me with my situation. I got people depend on me. I got circumstances that are like stressful. I need to do this. Like, my
yeah,
other income is drying up. I don't have a plan B.
yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, I cried all the way home at night. And then the next morning, what I did, I got up, I pulled a freaking cash buyers list in that neighborhood, and I
Start smashing it.
started calling them. First call, lady answers, and I locked up 2 houses under contract. Sold them both, made 13K.
So that was okay. Hold on a second. So you had that first house, they backed out. Boom, that deal's gone.
Yeah.
So
I
then
was trying to find other possible buyers for that first house.
okay,
And
and then you called a buyer's
I
list.
ended up getting the buyers for that house. So the funny thing is, I actually had an owner finance deal set up. The neighbors wanted to buy it. They were going to give me the 15K that I put down,
Yeah,
right, and then pay me 10K over terms. And I was such a newbie. I literally had only been doing this for 3 weeks.
yeah,
I didn't do the deal. I was too scared.
yeah.
I would have
So,
made, like, I'd
so
do
who's
this
the
all day right now.
yeah, right? So who's the person that gave you? You said you were calling a buyer's list. You said you pulled a buyer's list and you called a buyer's list, and then you locked up 2 contracts.
Pulled a list of cash buyers
Yeah,
in that neighborhood there where that house was, in that city, in
and
Talladega.
they bought that property.
No, what happened was, so I never did sell that property. But
Okay, so that property's gone. So your very first deal, you got it, you're super excited, and then you got crushed, and then you just said,
but I was
I'm gonna
still
keep
trying
going.
to hold on to that deal. So, all right, so it's kind of getting messed. So I got that deal. You know, the original buyer fell through. So I decided I'm not going to give up. And then after I got all these other buyers, then they don't show up.
Yeah.
And I'm still not going to give up. Right. So, I mean, I go home, I cry, I suck it up. The next morning I get up. So I'm like, all right, we're going to go to phase 3. So I learned how to pull a buyer's list, pulled a buyer's list, like started looking up their phone numbers. I still didn't know what skip tracing was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just on like True People Search, whatever, trying to find people's numbers. And I just start calling them. So to find a buyer for that house.
Yeah.
The very first person I called, a lady answered, and she was like, well, no, we're not buying any more rental properties, but we do have some rental properties we'd like to sell right now.
See, there's the missing ticket that we didn't cover. So the person that you called on a buyer's list actually had properties they wanted to sell, which has happened to us before too, which is why when REISift, we talk about uploading and layering and finding people like that and getting portfolios, which we'll talk about here in a second. But like, so you actually called a buyer's list to sell a property, ended up locking up
LLC owners, LLC owners.
And it was an LLC owner, which I always say, don't sleep on LLCs. It's super important.
Nobody else is calling them because it takes work.
Takes work. And hey, listen, LLCs, you know, have pain points too, because it's a human being that created it, right?
Exactly.
So, and you made $13,000 on the first call on a buyer's list. And this is about what, 4 weeks into it?
That list had 15. That list had 15 names on it.
15 names on it. Wow. And
so that's why I always laugh.
So how did they end up on a buyer's list? So they just finished buying a property and
they had bought all these. They had many properties.
Yeah.
They had bought them for cash. So the cash.
Oh, you didn't put a date range on your buyer's list.
Old. But this was in a small market out there. So like there wasn't a lot of recent cash purchases. So I mean, I pulled all the cash.
Oh, you just pulled all. Okay, see, that's what I was wondering, because they're like, what? They're not interested in buying anymore, but at the same time, they just bought one. But really, you just pulled a blanket buyer's list.
Every cash purchase in the history of Talladega.
That makes me think about pulling a old cash buyer's list. I think you just gave me a new list. Hey, mark it here. I'm gonna pull a cash buyer's list from people that bought properties cash 15 years ago.
We're dropping gems in here.
Boom. That's a new list. All right. So that's boom. So you got $13,000 in your pocket now. You have REISift. At this point, you haven't pulled any list source data yet for absentee owners or anything, or you have?
That's when I start REISift. I pulled a couple, but I didn't have any money, so I was trying because I was still waiting for those deals to close, all that.
Yeah.
And, I didn't have any money. So, I would pull like a couple zip codes.
Yeah.
So I had REISift, but I was trying to even get some data. So I got some absentee, and then I got, I don't think I had PropStream at that point. I think I tried something else. There was like REI Pro or one of those other ones.
Okay.
So I just got a couple other lists. Just a couple of basic lists.
Got you.
Put them in there and just did my first list stack campaign.
Okay.
And started getting some leads, but I still didn't get any results. I was still just kind of learning what I was doing.
Okay. So then let's fast forward a bit to when those deals closed. So now you got 13,000 in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I know between the rest of that year, you closed out somewhere around 40,000 between that July and December or something like that, right? That's about somewhere around that range.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. We did a couple more deals after that.
Yeah, quite a few more deals.
We did with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you closed one with me. You got those other two, and there's.
But it was spread out. So and my other income was, so it's I was still struggling, because it was so spread out.
Right. Yeah. Because you're you get a little bit, but then you got bills you got to catch up on. and you're still trying to, like, you're continually, you can't really breathe yet, you know? So totally understand that. You say, and that's a big thing. People say like, oh, you know, what'd you do, like 40,000? But it's like, well, not really, because, you know, I still was behind. I just got through all of this crap. And I'm still trying to figure out how to do this consistently and have a system around it. I can wake up in the morning and be like, okay, this is what I got to do to get results.
Right.
Right.
And then
So at what
also,
point did that click? What point did it click where you're like, this is all I got to do, wake up every morning and just do this?
um, well, after I signed up for REISift, I started doing some basic things, and then you and I did some calls. We
Yeah.
did Zoom calls, and then basically, I mean, that's what you would tell me. You would go do A, B, and C, like focus on what was you said, focus on vacant first. So that's what.
Yeah,
So
I think I did.
so okay, put all my data, took all the vacant out, but then still there was so much detail that I learned later about how to better that process, because I mean, it's like when I do something, I got to do it all the way. Like I don't do it like lightly. So like when you said pull all the vacant, I pulled literally all the vacant. Like
Yeah.
I was getting, so I was getting like so many like just trash houses, like so much like, and I was spending so much time.
I think I remember this. Didn't I come back and say you uploaded the wrong data? The data you put in is as good as the data you're going to get out. So I think I told you to narrow down your zip codes and not include, because in some areas you're going to have a lot of vacant properties you're not going to buy. So you
Yeah,
got to get those out of there, narrow in on that good data,
right.
and then start cold calling it.
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
Here's what happened. So I just started taking massive action, like loading all these lists. I mean, so I set it up where, I mean, I'm cold calling every day, basically the first half of the day, between like 8 and 12 or 10 to 1 or 9 to 1, somewhere around there. And then, at first I was going out every time I would get a quality, I was going out on appointments.
Yeah.
So like I spent a lot of time, like I was just doing a lot of things. And then after a couple months, we started getting all these contracts and contracts and contracts. And I mean, I had like 5 contracts in a row that fell through.
Yeah.
A couple of them were my mistakes. One of them, the seller, went behind my back and sold it to somebody else. I could have filed a memorandum, but I didn't want to. I didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. You just, and that's good advice, because like early on, like don't even sweat it. Just put your head down and keep focusing on what you got to focus on. You don't got the time, money, nor resources.
But at the time, like I say that now, just like, oh yeah, it was fun. But like at the time, it was devastating to me.
Oh yeah, it sucks. It definitely sucks. Definitely sucks. But again, some common trend that we're having here with you is that you just continue to just
Right.
do something towards the direction that you're trying to go to. Right.
So I mean, I'll break it down for you during those months. Like, so when we closed those first couple deals, like you're on top of the world, like you did it, like I did it, like literally a month later, after I just learned what this was, here I just made $13,000, and like the sky's the limit. Like you're all excited, you're gonna start taking all this action, and then just everything hits, man. Like so many things in my personal life and all these things, like circumstances just got bad, like really bad, really dire. Like all these things are coming at me, everything's like, there's so many distractions, everything, like, and you get to where you're like, you're just trying to make it one day at a time, like put one foot in front of the other and keep moving.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm going through all that, and I'm still basically broke. So that's frustrating, because here I did this, man. I did this. And then all this other stuff happened in my life. And now I'm still back. I'm worse off. I'm worse than I was before I started. And not only am I worse off, I did this, and all the joy is sucked out because all these things happen in your life. And I'm still broke. And now I'm getting these contracts. I'm excited. I'm going out to sell them, and they've fallen through one after. I mean, the first time it's one thing, and then it happens again, then it happens again, and you still just got to keep going because because by then I was in a situation, and I mean, I'll get into all the circumstances involving it, but I was literally in a situation where I had no choice. Like, this has to work. This has to work because I don't have a plan B. I don't have a backup. I don't have savings. I don't have a W-2 job to fall back on. I have nothing. Like, literally the next month, if this happens, it keeps happening, the next month I'm going to be on the street. And so like, I remember like having those months where like, it literally comes down to, I can buy groceries or I can pay for my REI budget, which is, to this day, it's still $500 a month.
Yeah, that's what's so beautiful about him. When you guys hear where he's at now, kind of the things that he's doing now, just from the consistency and hearing the $500 a month budget. And this is why I tell people when they see the video or when I onboard and do a call or a demo with somebody, I'm like, you don't need a bunch of money, right? You don't need a bunch. That's why I made the $350 a month, 6-figure business. It's possible.
It's 100% possible.
100%.
So it's hard for me, like sometimes when we get in the masterminds, whatever, the Facebook group, and I see all these people complaining, and they're just wanting just like some magic bullet or some, fairy dust to fall out of the sky. There's no fucking magic bullet. There's no fairy dust.
There's nothing. There's work.
So it's like people say, oh, I don't have enough money. Well, do you have food in your fridge? If you have food in your fridge, then you have a marketing budget, because I had no food in my fridge. All right. Yeah. I had no food in my pantry for weeks, and I'd have no money. I'd have no fuel in my gas tank. So I was keeping the roof over my head, and that's it. But I would literally be like, well, I mean, I have no money this week. I can't go anywhere. So I might as well be here making calls, because I literally can't afford to just go drive somewhere.
Yeah. You literally, I mean, you were at that point where, like you said, you either have to make it or you don't. And I think that's some position. That's like what I tell some people that get into a position where they're kind of where you were. And I said, well, if you're not willing to put in the work, then you kind of are gonna have to go through this experience to understand what bad is. And to be able to boost you back up to get that drive that's needed internally. It sounds like you pretty much had that from the beginning, or you wouldn't have been consistent with it. But and it helps to have a really, really strong why, especially with you. But like, man, that's just super crazy. So okay, so let's so you have no money in your fridge, you've closed some deals, there's really bad months in that. And where are we at now? Like November timeframe, December?
Yeah. So then, we got a little bit of stuff done there at the end of the year, and we did that deal with you.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. So I mean, because that brings me back, because I had a partner that I was working with in trucking. We were working together. He was out driving, and I was dispatching. We were just getting each other through, man. So when we found out about the real estate thing, he was driving still, but like he was funding the money for the marketing budget. And then when he would be off the road, he'd come back and we'd make calls. We were doing that together. But then after a few months go by and there's no money, like, he went back on the road. And we were able to just get that last deal that we did with you, because he lives down in Pensacola. So he was just on Deal Machine, go out and get a couple hundred properties, and we'd throw them on our list and call them.
Yeah. So okay, so then he said, well, this is drying up. There's nothing happening here. We're getting like a nibble, but there's not enough. But you were like, well, I know there's more. Right. You're like, so you rolled into the new year. At this point, you've
So
been
at the end of last year, that's when I really like hunkered down. It's like, okay, I've got to reverse engineer this. I got to really like dive into this. Why am I failing? And it was plain and simple because I was way too shotgun. I was way too all over the place. I wasn't focused. So what I did was I went through and said, okay, I'm going to just redo the whole way I approach data, the whole way I approach campaigns, everything. And so that's when I got tried out PropStream and learned how to just basically parse all those lists, because you can get on there, they have their basic filters, and then everybody does their little webinars about it, whatever, and they have their basic filters, and it just lumps everything together. And I don't think anybody that's talking about it is really presenting a quality strategy and how to properly use that system. So
right.
when I went in there, so I would break it down. I wouldn't just pull a liens list, a list of liens. I would pull HOA liens, mechanics liens, judgments, break everything down so to where my data is really like individualized, where I can really dial in when I'm looking at a property, what's going on there. And I could diagnose what's the situation, you know, because you can figure out the situation when you talk to them, then you know how to you know, slide it in there to where you could solve the problem.
Right.
So I just started revamping everything the way I was approaching it. So the first campaign we did, so I did 2 list stack campaigns. So I did one that was 2 stack lists, 2 stack lists in the top 3 turnover zip codes in the city. So the 3 hottest zip codes, 2 stacks. And then I did every other, then I did 3 stack for every other zip code, and then I also, out of those, just filtered out any bad zip codes, because that was one of the biggest things that killed me and my momentum early on, is because I was just running all over the place too much, and I'd get contracts, and like a couple of them were just not in an area that was going to get enough traction, you know. So all the energy and effort that I wasted.
Yeah, you're almost kind of like everything you just explained right there is kind of what the 3V motivated seller framework is kind of designed to kind of fix, right? Value, fixation, viability, making sure that the properties have value not only to yourself, but physically there's value in them, equity, value to a buyer. There's vexations there, as many as possible, understanding those vexations. But the most important one that you figured out, I think, out of all of those, besides the value, is the viability piece. And that was making sure that you're fully aware how to like execute on those things that are actually happening to those properties. So even you now, I think I messaged you not so long ago because you mentioned bankruptcy, because I know you've handled a couple properties in bankruptcy. I have never dealt with that.
Yeah.
So I even started pinging you with questions on what's happening with those and what the situation is, to educate myself. And so at this point, you've created these campaigns, you created this structure. Let's break down. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. You took everything from PropStream. Now, did you do your base equity from there? Or do you get equity from list source?
So here's my breakdown of how I'm doing all my lists. So all your base lists from list source, still equity, all those, you know, I try to still use it. So I'm really I'm using PropStream for niche, like all the different types of liens, the different types of judgments, and then like income tax judgments. So just all that list, and then failed MLS listings.
Right, because you don't have MLS. Now, how about anything local from your market?
Yeah, so I get like code violations. So here's the thing that Birmingham people know this. Like Jefferson County is the worst county to try to get data from, because here in Birmingham, it's interesting because all the municipalities have broken off from the county. They do their own thing. They have their own government. So you have to get data from each individual town. So, I mean, I learned how to do that, and I'm pretty sure some of those lists, I'm the only one that's going out and getting them.
Right. So what he's basically explaining there, and it's kind of to break it down, you have a county and then you have sub-cities inside of that county, right? The county doesn't handle any of it. Actually, kind of similar to my market, they do it same. I can still get it from
They
the
handle
county.
some. They handle some, but not all.
But not all of them, right? And that's a great thing. And you went through the extra effort to finding the actual cities, code enforcements, water, and all that kind of stuff to get those lists directly from them, because most people only contact the county, right? So that's huge. So niche list from PropStream, base qualifier data, just high equity, from list
all your base lists from list source,
and then also lists from your county.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And a couple from Rebo Gateway too, like affidavit of death.
Okay. So then you have a few other ones. Okay.
Yeah, and then I pull lists myself too. Like I get online, I find estate sales, find garage sales, put those. I have legal newspaper, get storage liens. So any data I can find, I just put it in there.
Anything that might be something indicating that someone is low on money.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Which is fantastic. So now we have the data. We've imported that into REISift. We know that you take those and you focus on your top zip codes. You remove out any of those bad zip codes. You take the 2 stacks and you focus on those pretty heavily. You take the 3 stacks and higher, you focus on those on a separate one. Do you pull vacancy out of those, or does vacancy lump up into your 2 stacks?
See, I didn't even do vacancy on those.
So like, because REISift checks for vacancy automatically. So you're not filtering them out. They could be vacant. They could not be vacant. Who knows?
Right.
Okay.
So, I mean, let's see. If I have these, the list size for those.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question, is how big are these lists for you? Like, how big is your 2 stack list? And then I wanted to break down into, because you're just cold calling, correct? That's it? Yeah. So then if you have an idea about how big it is, and then how many times you're calling through this list, and then what's your structure between actually marketing on the cold calling side? You're using call tools. What are some gems that you can drop that you've realized that you have to do in cold calling?
Okay, so what you have to do in cold calling is like the man Brent Daniels says, it's TTP, and you're talking to people. So you have to be able to talk to people, have a conversation with them. Yeah. And I'd say one of the biggest things that I have is, like, I've been through like a lot of shit in my life, and I've actually been a distressed homeowner. Right. I went through bankruptcy, I went through foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, all this. So it's funny, like my very first real estate deals, when my house went into pre-foreclosure, I
remember you told me this. This is a very interesting story, actually.
I mean, look, this is the hustle, man. I actually went to my neighbor's house, left a note on his door, because he had talked about maybe wanting to do some rentals or something. I had talked, and left a note. And by the way, all you people in Birmingham, you were sending me so many postcards. I was literally that guy. Why am I getting all these postcards? Now I know.
Who are these people?
Now I know why you all send me all those postcards. So appreciate that. But, I went to my neighbor's house, knocked on his door, wasn't there, left a note on his door. Hey, I want to move. I want to sell my house as is. Come make me an offer. And I negotiated an offer with him for just $3,500 more I walked away with than what I owed, or something like that, So that was like my first real estate deal before I knew anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny. There was actually another user who his first real estate deal was somebody sub-2'd his house. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know that at the time. He knows now, but he actually had his house subtoed. He sold it to someone subtoed.
Right. I mean,
Okay,
that
so
kind of laid a foundation for me though. Like, okay, there's something out there. There's
yeah.
people doing things like along these lines, which kind of led later for me to kind of look up, all right, what is this all about? What's going
Right.
on?
Okay, so then how, when it comes to the cold calling aspect of things, we got to make sure we're having conversations, make sure we're being, honest with people, especially on those two stacks in direct mail and not really, well, yeah, direct mail too, but especially in cold calling on distress lists, ones that you're building of this most distress list out of the whole mix. You got to make sure you're really open to have conversations because people are generally upset for reasons, and you have to be respectful to that. But after you started figuring this out and you started calling through, like what was that like? You called through it. How many times did you have to call through it before you got a deal? Did you get a deal your first call through?
Okay, so all right, so to do volume calling, I mean, I'm hitting the equity list and the absentee list every day, to get the volume in, because my you're gonna laugh to hear this. So I mean, where we're going with this, all the deals that we got going on right now. You want to know the list sizes for these two campaigns?
Yes, I do. Like
200 on one and 50 on the other.
So okay, so
250 total.
So 250 total is the list size for the deals that you have you closed and that you just put on a contract.
That we have closed and pending in escrow right now. Yeah.
And a little spoiler, you hit your weekly goal of how many contracts this week? Just today, was it not?
11 contracts this
11
week.
contracts this week. So we'll get into that. But 11 contracts this week. Just to give perspective of the two, in the list size is only 250 people.
So that's total of 13 contracts off 250 people.
13 contracts from 250 people.
Right,
yeah, boom. That is ridiculous. And how many times have you called through those 250 people? And what is your setup? Are you only four times? So 4 times you've called through that list. At what point, how many times, at what point did the first big deal come out of that? And let's get into that deal and let's break that one down. So you loaded it up.
The first deal I got out of it was on the very first call through, the very first day. Boom, contract that day.
That's ridiculous.
Then I'm trying to remember what number call through. It was maybe the second time or something. That's when I got a really big deal. And so we're about to break down like a really big deal here. But just kind of to go back to, first of all, you want to do a big deal. If you want to do a big deal, you got to set your goal to do a big deal. So
yeah, that's true.
You can't do a big deal on a $20,000 house. So if you're marketing to $20,000 houses and you want to do a big deal, well, you're not going to do a big deal. So you got to reverse engineer what you want. So I wanted to, I set a goal. Like in my darkest days, I had to set some goals like to keep me going, right? Because you don't want to get up out of bed in the morning. So I'm like, I'm going to set a goal. I want to do the biggest wholesale deal ever in Birmingham. So like, how do I do it? Well, I mean, you got to market to big time houses, big time homeowners in hot neighborhoods. So you reverse engineer it. So when I'm pulling my list, I'm not maxing it out at 250,000. I'm maxing it out at 750,000.
Right.
The home values.
So basically what you're doing is you're maxing out your total value on your lists, right? Which actually
I'm eliminating the bottom end too. So I'm doing a minimum and a maximum. So I'm doing the least value house I'll market to is 50K. So 50K to, I think it's 650K is what I did.
Okay, which is interesting because I'm the opposite, right? In my market, I only focus on 300,000 original purchase date or lower. So that's very interesting, and it just shows that that it's about what your goals are. It doesn't matter where you're at in that bracket. I'm sure maybe if I did what you're doing and then had a bunch of distress lists over top of it, we know from data, obviously we know that we would get deals from that.
Well,
But you've literally made it a goal that that's what you're going to be focusing
yeah.
on. And it's proven true, as we'll continue to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I made it my goal. So like I want to do this. And here's the thing. Part of it was from my background too. So being in remodeling, I did like high-end remodeling, and I learned how to just develop rapport with more affluent, wealthier people. So I had that as my skill set. So I'm like, I have that as my skill set. I know there's some really big buyers here that are doing $1 million homes.
Yeah.
They can't find inventory. They're dying for inventory. So I know. So again, it's just reverse engineering. I know I have this skill set. I know there's a need there. And I know that if you go on YouTube, anywhere in the REI, it's like people aren't saying do this. And people are saying, no, don't target the bigger homes, this and that. But like just something like, it was just in my gut, man. I was like, I know I could do it. So I'm just going to try and do it.
Yeah. Okay. So you called through, and it's like on the second time of calling through that 250 people, that you got a hold of this gentleman, or woman, was it wife or husband, one of them, you got a hold of one of them. And
I talked to the husband first and then the wife.
Okay. And they obviously wanted to sell their house. We know that the kind of the situation there. At what point in that conversation did you realize like this is a deal?
It wasn't on the first conversation. So it was a possibility on the first. So the first conversation basically, hey, Mr. So-and-so, I was just we're buying some houses in your neighborhood. We do remodels and such like that. So we're kind of calling the neighbors, seeing if anybody may be interested in possibly getting an offer. And he's just like, oh, well, it's a funny thing you should call, because we are looking to move our properties. We live in Destin. We have 2 properties, one here in Birmingham. That one in Birmingham is the one I was calling about. And it's like, yeah, we'd like to talk to you more about this. So then I ended up talking to the wife and kind of went over the situation. So they had a tenant in there that'd been there 10 years, and paying $3,500 a month rent, never missed a payment. But he had, in that meantime, over the 10 years, completely destroyed that house, like completely destroyed it. And they were just very distraught about it. And they owed, so the house, originally thought the house was maybe only worth $560,000. And they owed $500,000. So originally I thought possibly it could be an MLS type deal or something like that. But then when I found out what the condition was, and then went over there and actually saw the condition, like, man. So my first initial thought was, this is not a deal at all. This is
It's a straight dud.
Yeah. And so, but then I come to realize, well, I just went back over the comps, all that. And so it's actually, a $650,000 house. The house across the street just sold for like $655 or something like that. It's like, this is a really big house, but they still owe $500,000 on it. And I didn't really know. I kind of talked to them back and forth, and then about a week or so went by. They called me back up. Hey, we're coming into Birmingham. Let's meet. Let's get together. So I went and met them at Panera Bread, and they're older, kind of retired Cuban couple. He was a very prominent orthopedic surgeon here in Birmingham for many years, 30 years, I think, and then did some time in Mobile. Now they're retired there in Destin. And so here's the thing, going back to cold calling, all that, everything, the whole thing, if you want to break down like the true gem of how to do big time deals, it's rapport, everything. Everything is rapport.
1,000%. Yeah. Rapport is the most important thing.
So I'll tell you what I did. I went and had dinner with them at Panera Bread, talked about their family. We laughed, we joked, like we became just best friends. We didn't even talk about, it was like after the dinner, it was like, oh, by the way, I guess we should talk about this house.
Yeah.
Like the last 5 minutes, like quick, like that's the name of the game. I just went and built rapport with those people. Like, and
You weren't thinking in the back of your mind, you weren't thinking because you had the data to back up to show that you knew this property had stuff going on with it, right?
yeah,
You knew
yeah,
there was a problem solver.
absolutely.
And one of the problems that I think a lot of people do is there's motivation there. You knew there was motivation.
Right,
People aren't willing to put in the time to figure out if it's even possible. Like most
right,
people say, well, I don't want to go there because I could be doing this, that, or the other. Like, no, I mean, number one, giving your timeline, it was a great thing for you to do because building that rapport and speaking to the seller, like that's good experience building, number one. And number two, when you needed the deal, you wanted it to happen. So you're going to do everything it takes to make it happen. And from that, you learn and you build, and now that if people fit this criteria in general, everybody deserves the same amount of respect. And you're going to give everybody, it's not just about the paycheck. Like, oh, this guy doesn't sound like I'm going to make $1 million from him, hang up. Like, that's not how this game works. It
right.
might be how it works in a really hot market, but as this market tightens, that will go out the window, and only the people with relationships and a good name are going to be the people to continue through. Um,
Right.
so, okay, so you had dinner with them. At what point, fast forwarding, did
So
would you
they
let them get out of contract?
so they kind of talked about the situation. They started opening up about the situation. Like they were really, like it was a serious painful point for them that this tenant had just wrecked this house. It was very like emotional for them because this was their house that they kind of like made their way in, built his career, like had a lot of success, had a lot of memories. It was their home.
Right.
And so that's another thing, like about rapport building. Rapport building is not really like a checklist. It's like it starts with genuinely caring about the people, like genuinely caring what's going on with them and what they're going through, and getting them to understand that you do care. Because once they understand that you care about their pain, because it's really not about the money, it's about the pain, whatever the pain point is. It's about solving that problem. So
Right.
once they understand that you care about that, then you can get to the money later. So I met with them. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go over there and I'll take a look at the property and make arrangements with this tenant. And they're like, we don't even really want to talk to him. We don't want to go over there. Like it was just become such a pain point for them because they kind of already knew that he had destroyed the house. So, went over there and it's bad. Like, you want to talk about like the worst hoarder house. I mean, you also showed you on
Yeah.
live like you're talking the basement, just floor to ceiling, the stair, everything's just destroyed. The whole beautiful pool area in the back, just nasty. And I mean, it's in rough shape. And so I do that and I go back because they knew I was going over there, meeting with the tenant and all that. And so, when I called them back and I just let them know, hey, it's in really bad shape. Like, and we kind of had just like, had like a little emotional therapy session with them together about it. Like,
Yeah.
they're really distraught over it. And and then I was just like, okay, well, let me see what I can do. Because I mean, I know she's like, and at this point they're like, well, I mean, I know you can't even give us what we owe. I mean, if we have to pay something, I mean,
So they actually introduced that before you
they
even did.
actually introduced it.
Yeah,
So
that's how you
once
know
they
they're
opened
motivated.
that door, so they owe 500,000. They owe 500,000 on the house, and so.
What did you end up putting on our contract for?
All right, so I called them back and I was like, look, and her name is Maria, the wife. I was like, Maria, like, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about all this, everything that you've been through, and like this situation. And I understand this is really difficult and there's really not a good solution for it. Like, this house is in such bad shape and it's going to be such an ordeal to deal with it. Like, I think, honestly, really, I mean, and I hate to even say this to you, but the best we can offer you for that house is $225,000.
$225,000. So basically you said, don't assume how much money they have in their pocket, and just give them the offer that I know that I have to give them, right?
Yeah. So, so here's where all that rapport building, everything comes in, because you're expecting that they're going to be like, what the F did you just say to me? And,
Yeah.
so like, and her husband actually got on the phone with her because she put him on speakerphone when I was going to actually, present the offer and all that.
Yeah.
And, so what she actually said to me, I mean, they were just like, they were a little emotional for a second, like they were just emotional. And she just said, you know what, Josh, we're going to do it because we trust you. And I know there's other people out there, and we don't even want to talk to anybody, because when you meet somebody and and you just know about them.
Yeah.
And we're going to go with it. And we're going to do this with you. And then her husband got on there and he's like, you know what? We really appreciate you. And even though this is going to be a lot of money, like, we made all that money back because they basically refinanced that house over and over.
Yeah.
And we're cashing that money out and using it to advance his career and all that. So he's like, you know what? That's not even an issue. We're just so glad that we met you, and we know that we can trust you, that you're just going to take care of this for us, and we won't have to worry about this anymore.
That's insane. So then, let's fast forward. And
right then and there.
yeah, yeah. So you docu-signed it right then and there. You got it. Let's fast forward to you locked up a buyer. Let's fast forward up to that point. There was a lot of nurturing. There's some time between there. What'd you lock up a buyer under at?
$310,000.
$310,000. So they bring $190,000 to closing.
No, 277,000 and some change.
207. Oh, right, because of the 210. Oh my! They bring $277,000.
Like, I don't have the HUD in front of me yet because we just signed on it yesterday, but they're waiting for the money to hit.
Yeah.
I won't get my HUD probably till tomorrow, but it was like 277,800 and some blah blah.
That is insane.
And not only did they do it, they were happy to do it.
They were happy to do. They knew exactly what was going on. That's what's crazy. Yeah.
They consider me their family. Like, they want me to come down there, have dinner with them in Destin.
Yeah.
Be private lender monies for us later on.
For sure.
And then I didn't even mention, so then they have their house in Foley, lock that up.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and just mention numbers on that real quick. We won't spend too much time because I want to cover the other one briefly, and I want to try and keep this condensed in. So, like, what were the numbers on that one?
On the Foley one?
On the Foley one. So you made, so how much did you make from this other one up there? What's coming to you? 70, 90?
That was an $85,000 deal. So my split on that was
well, in general, $85,000 deal is what's coming.
$85,000 deal. Yeah.
That's insane. An $85,000 deal, and they're bringing $277,000 to close.
Mm-hmm.
Never assume.
And hugged me as they left.
And hugged you as you left. We have a very similar story as far as our very first deal, and the emotional connection that was there that made us realize, like, this is what we're doing for, like, ever. So, like, okay.
I'm 100% genuine about it. Like,
yeah,
I genuinely care about people, and that comes from, like, I've been through a lot of pain in my own life. Like if you really, like, you really want to dive deep into this stuff, like as far as rapport building and all that stuff, like develop an intimate relationship with pain.
Yeah.
One way or another, develop an intimate relationship with pain, and you'll be able to understand people's pain and connect with them. You build that connection to where they're saying to you, well, you know, when you meet somebody, you just know.
You just know.
Like,
Because it's so genuine. You can tell it's real.
Connection, you know? When you
That's
meet,
insane.
you just know.
So then, what'd you lock up this other one at? What's, you know, very briefly, kind of, what do they owe on that? Because they're bringing money to the table on that one too, right? A little bit.
But we think we can get them without having to. We think we can just clear them off, and it needs only minor work. So we're gonna like wholesale it.
Okay. So probably a
$260,000 house. It's 213 is their payoff. 260 is the payoff. So, and we probably need to put about 15 into it. So
that'd be a little bit maybe probably like maybe 20 grand or so, a little bit less, something like that. Okay. So
20 grand spread.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, so basically from this one individual, off of recapping a 250 person list.
List with 50. That list has 50 names on it.
That list has 50 names, and the other one with this next deal has 200. So 50 names on that list. Called it, locked up a deal. $80,000 come in from that deal. They paid $277,000 to get out of that house. Got another deal out in a contract from the same person. He's gonna make right around $20,000 from that. And right, again, $277,000 to closing. They have money, right?
They want to be private money lenders for
private money lender. They're gonna make back the money they did from you anyway. You know what I mean? So a relationship, one call can literally change the forefront of your company. It's insane. It literally, even on direct mail, on our mastermind, we have, you know, I had a call that I did live on the mastermind tonight, and they're bringing, was it 38,000 to closing, I think is what it was, or something like that. They owe 258. We have it at 215. So whatever that difference is to closing, like, come on, you know, that's the power of distressed properties, right? So, so that's freaking amazing.
We split that deal in half, and it's still a massive deal.
Still massive. Yeah. So, and here's the thing is,
one half is, I think, after closing 42 grand something. I don't know. I haven't gotten.
Which even doing that, right? Who cares? Like you just got, like, you have all the power in that, leaving out of it, and you have a good buyer now. And that's another thing, that, like, fearing JVing with people and fearing building that relationship. Relationships is the key to this business, both on the seller side and the buyer side. Yeah. So 50 people, over 70 grand really going to your pocket, and someone else is making some juice off that too.
I think that was off the first call through too.
Yeah, first call through. Now we call through that list again, or, you know, another 2-stack list, and let's fast forward to that, where you're at right now. So up to this point, then again, we're only really from the time that this really clicked for you. I mean, you started in July.
The first of the year, right? You know.
Yeah, first of the year is really where this happened. You went through a lot of struggle, a lot of pain for about 6 months. And then you entered in, you reevaluated what you're doing. You got the data from PropStream, the niche stuff, the base data from ListSource. You got all that stuff in the REISift. And you started calling it, boom. And
so then this one, that changed. So also, let's make a point about this. This big deal is from that, let's talk about, it was on that code violation list. The one.
Yeah, the same code violation list that you put the work in to actually get, right? Which is
3 names on that list. I don't know how many I ended up calling off of it, because I only did my stack. So I pull all these niche lists, but I don't call them. I'm not calling bankruptcy lists.
You literally only focus on 2 stacks.
My goal was to, how can I get so much great data and lay it all out here so I can just laser focus on stacks only. Like, that's what I want. Like, if it's not a stack, or if it's not just your base, you know, your base list, I'm just gonna roll with my equity list to keep doing the volume, but, like, I'm just gonna focus on, like, I want to get straight to, and part of that too is also, it was need based. Cause like, all right, how do I get a deal right now? Like I need a deal right now. I need to change my life right now. I don't have 90 days. I don't have 6 months. Like I'm up against it. If I don't do this right now, I'm dead. It's over, everything.
Yeah.
So like there is like a driving force behind that, that fuels it, and you partner that with, you know, the analytics side of it, and that's how you blow up, get a monster deal. Like it's like, it's hilarious because all that effort I put in with no results for months and months, and then these results, I mean, I laugh about it because we're here talking about it like, and you know, it's probably going to blow up like I've done some masterful thing, but like, it's funny because it's like, it was easy.
Yeah, really, when you break down to it, it's super easy. You just literally got to follow the steps. You literally just, I think like in REISift, we have the cheat sheet. Like literally, you just follow the cheat sheet. People always ask me, what's your marketing campaigns? What's your marketing campaigns? Like literally, I'm giving them to you. Like I'm not, there's no smoke and mirrors here. It's literally this cheat sheet. Just pull it out and do it. Right. And what's nice about what you recognize is that, you know, you just altered it to your market and the strategy and your vision for the big deals, right? You asked questions, got questions answered, and then altered and made your own opinion, which is how you need to build a business. And from that, you got results. So,
and then going back to that goal, I mean, I've asked around, and I believe it is the biggest wholesale deal ever done in Birmingham. If someone knows a bigger one, they can at me.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to know that.
Goals, man.
Okay, so let's talk about this other portfolio one you got going on right now. Just basically call through what list it was from, and then how much is projected earnings from it, and then
so that was that deal we just broke down. So I broke my stacks into 2 campaigns. That was the 3 stacks, all the major zip codes.
Only 50
That's
people.
the deal we just broke down. There's only 50 names in it, but you say only 50 names, but by the time you get all the numbers and all that, it's like, you know, 405 numbers. And then, you know, and obviously the key is you don't give up on it until you've talked to 50 people. I mean, you say it all the time. How many people have you actually talked to, right? So
yeah, if you call 50 people and then you come to me telling me that you've only spoken to 3 of them, I'm going to tell you that you're not really motivated. Like you need to talk to 50 people, figure out a way to talk to all 50. They're in distress.
Right. So that's what that deal was. And so the list that the deal was on, it was on code violation because they had an inoperable vehicle in their front driveway, which was a $85,000 H2 Hummer, by the way, but that's a whole nother.
Jeez. Okay. So really good there. Awesome deal. Congratulations on it. Number 1, dude. That's freaking amazing. The next one. What we got?
So the next one, so this one is, this one was the 2-stack list, 2 stacks, but only the top 3 highest volume zip codes. Okay. So top 3 zip codes, 2 stacks, 200 names on that list. So I got the very first day, we got that one deal, which was a bankruptcy, owner occupied, high equity. That one's in escrow right now, closing, projected about 17K spread on that one. Locked that contract up same day. Like called 1 hour, next hour I'm at the house, signed the contract. So, but it's bankruptcy, so that's been a whole process and all that. But it's about to close here this week.
Okay, that's a different one than the portfolio one.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Okay, so then what about? Is there one in between that one and the portfolio one?
Only the other one from those other sellers, which is their house in
right. Okay.
Basically that 50 list, 2 deals, about 105K, two deals of 50 names.
50 names, 105K, and now we're on this other list. You've already locked up 17K on it, and actually just.
So I've got 11. So that's total. There's 13 total contracts. There's 2 on that 50 list. Now this one has 200 names. It's 2 stacked, 3 zips. So I locked that first contract up. So then that was the first call through. So I'm calling through multiple times, and it's getting to where I'm even like, I'm going to stop calling them. I'm getting a low response rate. It's hovering at 5%, going a little under. And sure enough, I mean, I hit this lady just at the right time, got her on her cell phone. And she is part of this large family that they own tons of rental properties all over in Center Point. Center Point is like kind of one of the hot cash buyer areas here in Birmingham. It's cooling off maybe some now, but that's one of the hot areas here.
Okay.
So they own properties. So here's another thing, that a little gem we can drop. So like, one of the things I would do when I was broke and, you know, alone and like, I would spend night after night after night just going through my records, just like looking at what's in there, seeing what's in there, see who owns lots of properties, seeing what's going on. Like, and I noticed this family, like the month before, I noticed this family had all these properties and kind of researched into them. And like, they had a construction company and they had like a real estate company, all that. So when I got this lady on the phone, I knew who she was.
Right.
Oh yeah, so you guys got such going on. You got, you know, y'all done big things. So like, kind of like be flattering, you know, build that rapport. Like, so I mean, I think I even said I think I'm speaking to like Birmingham royalty here. Like, y'all.
Yeah. And you can actually use, have you looked to see how many properties you have of theirs in your REISift account under the property owners tab?
Yeah, I went to go do that. I'll have to get back to you on how many.
Yeah.
It was over, I don't know if I have all 10 of these.
Right. But you have more than one of them to
Yeah,
show.
I had several of them, yeah.
And then, yeah, let me know then if any of those were also multiple stacks.
So, yeah, so this one was a stack. So here's the one thing about the gem that I've noticed from PropStream, getting these niche lists from PropStream, is so many of these lists, they're tied to the property, not the owner, right? So when you got an absentee owner and you got distress going on at the property, that's the tenant has problems. So
Yeah.
you got the tenant that has problems and you have an absentee owner, well, that's gold right there.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So, okay, so so the big family, they got lots of properties. They're like, I want to sell a good chunk of them, and that's 10 properties from them?
Yeah, so she's like, yeah, we got a portfolio of 10 right now that we want to sell. We're actually thinking about listing them. We were actually about to list them like tomorrow.
And you're like, no, I'll buy them all.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
it's
it.
like, yeah, we'll do cash. And she's like, my grandfather owns most of these, and you know, my mom's like been in the hospital with surgery and all that. Like, my father owns one of them. The rest of them are in my grandfather's name, and like, I have the power of attorney on all of it, so I'm the decision maker. And she's like, you know, I think he'll sell them for an investor price if he can just move them right now and we don't have to deal with it.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. So notice the trend here with these two stacks of motivated people, right? Like, they literally give you everything you need normally. There's no fighting, there's no battling. You still want to market, like you said, take out those absentee high equities, market to them, that, you know, blanket list there, but then narrow in on these people and make sure you have that spread out campaign. But okay, so then what do you have the whole package under contract for?
520K.
Okay.
Houses, so 52K house. We'll spread that out kind of however.
Yeah. So you're probably projected on that.
The ARV on them is 1.1 million.
1.1 million. So you literally have them under a 50% contract ratio right now.
And they're all,
insane.
and I've seen pictures of them. I mean, again, now, I mean, I'm comfortable. I don't go out on appointments. I lock that shit up virtual.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there tomorrow and see them, but they're already under contract by the time I
already
see
under contract. In fact, you showed me the DocuSign emails before we started recording. So those are already under contract. So you have literally 1.1 million plus potentially in real estate assets under contract right now, and like you have two options here, and you have, because of what you have them under contract for, you could literally exit these as a wholesale and probably make another 6 figures pretty easily, or you could potentially do it a different route and reinvest, and depending on situations, the money you've made from previous wholesales, and literally have a crap ton of equity in properties that you could then HELOC and use in other fashions as well. So building and targeting portfolios specifically is an amazing resource to be able to get these big deals. And it's freaking amazing. It blows my mind that there's so many REISift users, including yourself, that are like actively picking that up. So much so that it's kind of making me feel like I'm doing something wrong. But
next week I'll teach you the game, man.
yeah, exactly. You can show me next week. So that's amazing. So basically what this boils down to is you started in July, you worked your ass off figuring out how this all works through failure, right? You basically had, 10 or some contracts in that time period. So you're averaging 2 to 3 a month, okay, in that time period. A bunch of them fell through because you were putting them under contract too high, because, excitement, whatever. You learned, you still made some money.
I had basically every situation. I had like, I'm trying to even remember. So like one I put under contract is probably a decent price, but it was one of those areas. So this is where you got to learn your market. So like this area was hot for a minute, then it cooled off.
Yeah.
So I was on the tail end. So no one's buying there anymore. The interest is gone. So I couldn't move it.
Okay.
Yeah, there was another one. I put it under contract, probably, too high. And then there's obviously one where someone screwed me over. It's going to happen. It happens to everybody.
Right.
And then there was other ones. Obviously, there's that one where I didn't take that owner finance deal where I should have.
Yeah, right. So there's quite a few of them, but you still made money, and then after you hit an ultimatum, you're like, I either do this or I don't do this. What do I got to do? You knuckled down. You reevaluated, put some stuff on a whiteboard or whatever it was, mentally thought about it. Maybe just laid back in that recliner back there and just kind of like thought, what do I got to do? Broke down, got all the data, understood your data, studied it a little bit, and now so far this year, you're basically right around 200 for in a month and a half.
Yeah.
That's fucking amazing. It's only a month and a half into the year, and you've got
still getting over, I'm still
13 contracts.
Still not sunk in, because I'm still getting used to being able to buy groceries.
Right. 13 contracts in a month and a half, over 200,000 in earnings / projected revenue.
Yeah.
17 to 25 or so already in your pocket, and this one closed today, so you're waiting on that wire to come in. And we're only halfway through February. And you've taken some of that money and reinvesting it into education and surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals at ground zero. Just to date this, you're going to ground zero, and where, I'm excited to smoke a cigar with you and have a glass of whiskey or whatever we do. And you're going to take some knowledge from there. And, I just want to talk about now real quick, very, very quickly, run me through, for the people that are trying to have the same level of success in a day. Wake up. What is your marketing day like? You said earlier you cold call from maybe 4 hours, 5 hours out of the day. What does that day look like? When do you make offers? You make offers right there as you're cold calling right now. And then after that question, I want to talk about what's next for you hire wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like a basic day for me, get up, do your morning routine, and then hit the phones and try to call. I try to make $400 a day.
400 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And are you using triple dialer in call tools?
Yeah.
So triple dialer, you're trying to do 400 calls, and is that that split between the niche list and then also the absentee?
Right. So
Okay.
I'll hit the volume list and the niche list. So I'll kind of just bounce around between them. So say like on
You're
those.
only cold calling. You're not doing any RVM. Are you dropping voicemails or
So that's
texts?
another. So that's another thing too that I mean I got from you very early on is just like just do this one thing and just focus on it. So like I mean I never have even tried to do any RVMs, text, direct mail. I haven't done anything except learn how to master cold calling, learn how to
Okay.
systematize it, learn how to do it properly.
And because you focus on niche lists, it's even really hard for you to really understand what a call to deal ratio is because they're happening like
Yeah, I mean that's
really
another thing
quick.
is like my KPIs are all over the place because I'm trying to track it all manually. I'm still using the free Podio.
Yeah.
Like just check out Tyler's YouTube. He shows you how to set up the REI free Podio. I mean, that's still what I'm using.
Yeah.
So
And
I have like a $500 budget. I have my Kara site. I have PropStream, REISift, list source subscription, Rebo Gateway. I mean, it's not very much.
not very much. Okay. So you wake up, you call. Now, do you only work half the day?
So then, no, that's just calling. And so then after calling, then is lead follow up. So then that's when you're hitting everybody up that you've already all the leads that you've gathered, and you're trying to see who you can get under contract.
So first half of the morning is prospecting. Second half of the morning, lead follow up, and then you'll go out on appointments as it's deemed necessary.
Right. So now that's what I do. I go to appointments only if needed.
Okay, we do the same exact thing. Yeah, it's you got to do it like that. Okay, cool.
Afternoon, so I have my afternoon where if I need to do that, and then I got personal things I got going on, and like now I've joined the gym. I hired a personal trainer. I go to the gym like every afternoon now. I'm trying to get myself. Now I'm trying to get my body back in the shape that my mind is.
Right. Yeah. No, that's freaking awesome. And we're gonna have Josh also on the Allies to Prosperity podcast, and like that's a huge piece of that, and we'll talk about that really heavily in that because that's huge. The fact that you came back around and used that same exact sentence. Okay, so now that you recognize the things that you need to get a deal, right? Because you're consistent with it. What is the next hire that you feel that you need in your business right now to be able to fire yourself from the first $10 task that is taking up time in your day?
Right. So here's the thing, like you spend all these months, like I just got to get a deal. I just got to get a deal. And then once everything starts happening, so like this whole week, like I haven't even been able to cold call. So now it's to the point where I literally don't have the time of the day to do all these. So, because I got so many deals going on now, I mean, I have stuff that has to be done. Like, so I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Right.
So what I've been doing, so in my when I do have time on nights and weekends, that's when you start building your systems, building your data. I mean, learn how to do all the technical things.
Right. And I'm just going to stop you there for just a second because it's something that needs to be said again. As a business owner that's starting a business, you are not a CEO from the hours of 9 to 5. You're an employee of your business. Okay. So from 9 to 5, you're working. You're doing cold calling, you're doing the nitty-gritty tasks, the grit work that needs to be done, and from 5 until 1 o'clock in the morning, is you're building and understanding how to expand that out and do the things that are needed. Too many people try to think that they're going to be a CEO 100% of the time. It's not going to happen.
No, I mean, yeah, because people are just fooling themselves, man. So like the thing about me, I'm trying to think if I've ever even had a W-2. I don't think I've fended for myself my whole life.
Right.
I was 18 years old, worked for myself, doing independent things. So I understand what it takes. Like you live it, you envelop it. I mean, and it's 24/7. So it either has to be a part of you, or else, I mean, go collect a paycheck, man. Like,
Yeah. Can't give up. So then what's the next hire? Is it going to be I'm going to give you some options: administrative assistant, to do and set up your marketing campaigns for you, so you don't have to ever worry about that again, and pull the data and all that piece, automate that, or a cold caller.
well, can I choose both?
With your budget, probably. All right, so we're going to go with both. So your goal is maybe administrative assistant and then cold caller.
Right.
You think that
Because
would be the next step?
that's what I've been trying to work hard on. I mean, we talk about that a lot, is SOPs. People always ask us, what the heck is an SOP? Well, standard operating procedure. Have all the steps of your business laid out to where someone else could do it. And you have whatever, either a video or a manual or something to show them how to do it.
Right.
So that's been something like I've kind of been like the wild, wild west, man. Like I figured this stuff out, but like I didn't go back and be like, okay, what was A to Z, all the steps. So now I'm having to kind of, once I got all these deals locked up, go back, all right, A, B, C, D, what are all the exact list filters, all the steps, when we're going to pull them, how, so just
Right.
setting all that stuff up so that I'm ready, come here into March, that we can hit the ground running and start getting all this stuff implemented, to where it's systematized. This is what we do every day, every week, every month. And,
and then you can only have that 30-minute marketing meeting once a month, and then marketing's going out. You got the caller, and then you focus on locking up contracts and dispoing, and then you fire yourself in those. I freaking love it. Dude, man, so I don't know how long we are right now. I think we're somewhere around maybe an hour and a half or so. I don't know. But dude,
talk all night,
yeah, I know. I want to keep it in the realm of what people will sit here and be able to, even because there's so many nuggets in here, like,
Right.
so let's end out with what you think you would tell yourself 6 months ago or in July of last year, and what your number one advice would be for someone that's in the situation where they don't know what to do next, like where you were in December.
Well, the first thing is you can't give up, because you only fail if you quit.
Yeah.
And if you haven't quit, you haven't failed. So don't quit. That's number one. It doesn't matter how dark it gets, how hopeless it feels. Like everybody goes through it, and just embrace it. I always say, like the phrase I always say is, embrace the storm. Like,
Yep.
You're in the storm. It's storming. Storms are not fun to be in.
Right. Unless you're a Floridian, you got hurricanes. We love hurricanes for that.
Exactly. Right.
Okay, so embrace the storm. Love it. Great advice there.
Embrace
So that's your second one, or is that what you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself when I first started?
Yeah.
I said embrace the storm. I would say embrace yourself, because we're all made special. We're all made unique. We all have something to bring to the table. So like, embrace who you are. Just step out and own it. Just step out and own who you are, and just be who you are fully, unapologetically, unafraid, and just go for it. And let the chips fall where they may.
I love it. Okay, so embrace yourself, right? So don't be afraid of who you are. Just be organic and just love it. Don't give up, right? So be consistent, and then just do those two things all the time. And I guess the two that I would throw into that, for my end out on that, would be, with those two things taking care of you, surround yourself with the people that are being those two things.
Right.
And if you have all three of those combined, you are going to be successful. And then, you know, maybe throw some really good data in there to actually do the marketing. But like, man, that's freaking awesome. I love it. Man, I can't even think of anything else that you covered so many super golden gems. I'm trying to think back, and I can't even remember all the golden gems that was kind of dropped throughout this whole time frame. But I really appreciate you sharing your story, man. I think that a lot of people needed to hear that whole story, especially from July until December, and then that piece that happened, that aha moment that happened in, you know, that probably New Year's time, you know, line, and then just the success that happens after you recognize that. You know, now maybe not everybody's going to have the big checks, not everyone's going to have that, but the big things
go back to the, I mean, to that success. And the key is you got to take ownership and reverse engineer your shit. You know, don't get woe is me. Why is this happening to me? Oh, I can't do this. I've tried. And it's like, I mean, I see on Facebook all the time, people post, oh, I tried to call this list, it didn't work. I tried to do this, I'm getting no results. Who cares? Keep going.
Yeah, why are you posting it here? You should still be calling. You know?
So like, you can't, like, if that happened, you can't go back and change it. We don't have a DeLorean. So, I mean, just keep going and reverse engineer like you had to do, you know, like your story. You sent all those mailers, lost $10,000. That happened. It was done. So what can you do? Bitch about it, or else figure out what you did wrong.
Dude, love it. Okay, man, I appreciate you coming on. People are going to hear more from you. If for the people who aren't users yet, man, just if this doesn't attest to what can be done for you, I don't know what does. You know, I'm openly able to. I'm sure Josh is super open. Where can people find you at, Josh?
All my social media is Joshua Lee Newman. My full name,
Joshua Lee Newman. Lee?
Yeah.
All right. So at Joshua Lee Newman on pretty much anything. He's in the REISift mastermind page, which every REISift user gets access to when they become a user. And then obviously our Thursday masterminds. He's one of the consistent people that are always on there, which comes to attest as well to the level of discipline that is required. You know, people show up all the time and some people don't. It says a lot about your character and what you're trying to achieve. So keep that in mind. Again, Josh, man, thank you so much for being on here. I can't wait to see you next week. And I look forward to seeing what comes from you.
You know that, right?
What's that?
I'm going to hug your freaking neck.
All right. I'll prepare myself. I'll get like one of those metal rings that some people wear. Right. All right, brother. Thanks so much, man. I will see you next week.
All right, man. Peace out.
Peace out.